Free Guy stars Ryan Reynolds as a background character in a video game who becomes self-aware and begins to challenge the world around him. It's a lighter film with plenty of comedy and outrageous action, so let's see if it's worth checking out. Welcome everyone to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tara.
Greetings, citizens.
This is a science fiction movie podcast. We get together, we watch a sci-fi movie, we talk about it. This episode in particular is a vote winner over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. The voting tier, you get to vote in an episode once per month. And this winner was, it was like 3 Ryan Reynolds movies, I think I put in the vote. So it was a bit of a weird choice. But Free Guy was the winner, so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Free Guy. We'll start spoiler free as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get into the spoilers. But the basic gist of it is that Ryan Reynolds plays an NPC in a video game. If you don't know what that is, if you're not a video game player, that means a non-player character or non-playable character is what I used to always say. But it's just a background character who realizes and sort of becomes more self-aware and starts to question his surroundings, and there's a whole plot about the people in the real world who developed the game as well that sort of becomes the backbone of the story, but that's the basic gist of it. So that's Free Guy. Now, I hadn't seen this before. This was a first time watch for me, but you had seen this before, is that right?
That is correct. I wasn't planning on seeing it because I'm not the biggest Ryan Reynolds fan. I think I'm just kind of over him. I think I've been over him for a while, and but I had a bunch of friends who are like, we're going to go see this, so if you want to hang out, that's what we're doing. And I said, sure. And I went in with very low expectations.
Yeah, I went in with low expectations because it's a Netflix movie, which I guess got a theatrical release because you said you saw it in a theater. I didn't know that.
It is a Netflix movie? It's a Disney movie, right? Because it's on Disney Plus.
I thought it was a Netflix. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is a Disney movie. It makes sense.
I mean, I don't blame you for thinking that because
it feels like a Netflix movie, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Ryan Reynolds does a lot of Netflix garbage, right?
Well, one of the other options was a Netflix movie that had almost the exact same poster as this one, with Ryan Reynolds in the same place. Let me just find what that movie was.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of references to Marvel and even Star Wars in this, so I think, it's Disney.
The Adam Project is what I'm thinking of, which has almost the exact same poster with him in the same place in the frame, but that's a Netflix movie. I thought this felt like a Netflix movie, funnily enough, but
I mean, better budget.
I guess.
It looks better than most Netflix movies I've seen.
Not from a cinematography point of view. From a like effects budget point of view, I'll agree with you. But from like how much good does this movie look as a movie, I won't agree. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. I thought this was very mediocre to pretty shit by the end, to be honest. So I wasn't that into it. But you were more positive, so please, you start us off.
Well, I'm surprised you told me that before I gave my opinion.
I already said I thought it would feel like a Netflix movie. That basically was a giant neon sign saying meh.
Yeah, maybe because I had low expectations, but I actually enjoyed the film. I think the humor is about 50-50 for me, but I enjoy the character of Guy. I think the other storyline that's going on with like the programmers and stuff is okay. I will say this: the first movie that I absolutely hate Taika Waititi in.
Yeah, I don't like him in this either.
I think he's terrible in this.
You can tell that he didn't write his own like lines. Like this feels like someone else's voice that he's spitting.
I think a
out.
lot of this felt like improv, but he was given a character and he went with it, and he just went way too far with it, and it just doesn't fit him.
Could be the opposite. Yeah, could be him just goofing around on set, and everyone around him being like, "Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we'll include all this because it's fantastic." And it's the only line he had that mildly, and I mean mildly, was when he made up like he was comparing something to KFC, and he said like Alabama boiled
turkey
or something.
Albuquerque boiled turkey.
Albuquerque boiled. That's what it was because it rhymed, and it was mildly amusing because of that.
Yes, I agree. That
was basically it. Yeah, my thing with this, and it's kind of ironic given the movie's about like an AI character becoming more intelligent and self-aware, But this movie, to me, the more like, it was fine and inoffensive at the start, and it was going on. It was doing kind of Truman Show in a video game setting kind of plot, and I'm like, okay, this is all whatever. It was a bit light and fluffy for me, so I wasn't super into it. But I didn't really have anything to super complain about beyond just it feeling a bit generic. But as it was going on, it started to really, with all the references it started to bring in, and you know, all that stuff, I was like, this feels it was written by AI. Like, this feels like an algorithm that sort of took all the popular things and put them into a blender and is making references, and it's doing jokes. Some of the humor's a bit out of date, some of the humor feels a bit juvenile. Some of the like the action set pieces just feel like something that I've complained about a lot with blockbusters recently is like CG vomit, where it's just everything's just like falling apart and there's just nothing but CG in the screen, as you know, the world's crumbling and things like that. And I just, you know, it's kind of, so the action scenes I didn't really get much out of. They all just kind of felt a little bit fluffy to me. I think this is kind of like a weird trend I'm noticing, is that any sort of movie that's about something inside a video game, I don't think I like most of them. Because Ready Player One, I felt kind of similar about. This feels very Ready Player One to me in terms of how I feel about it. Is like, oh, it's a bunch of it's not as many references, because Ready Player One obviously was off the charts as far as referencing other stuff goes. But you know, it's got a lot of references. It's doing, you know, it's got real Twitch streamers in it for like, you know, like Truman Show, you get the cuts to people watching TV. This has kind of like that, but it's like cutting to Twitch streamers. Although it still has like cutting to like Times Square with people watching like stuff in the video game play out, and that felt like, I felt like a disconnect there, because I'm like, there is no precedent for anyone like treating like what happens in an MMO as like news.
Oh yeah, I totally,
but, you know.
I agree with that. All the scenes of like the people just watching intensely as stuff was happening, especially when you get like is it Ninja and like Pokimane? I think there's the only two that
Ninja's the only one I recognized, but I'm going to assume that they're all real streamers just because it felt like what it would do.
I think those are the only two that I've heard of, and I think they're having them in the movie, and I want to say there were actual newscasters that were real life also in current day, make me go like, okay, so this is happening today, and this game, it doesn't exist, so like why would an MMO be on a like Times Square screen?
Yeah, it makes no sense. They try and treat it like, oh, you get this like rising happens because stuff starts, but so and this is not spoiling too much, but part of the movie is that Ryan Reynolds' character is an NPC who starts like stopping players from hurting the NPCs, and it's kind of this meta like wink wink, like you know, technically in a video game we all just do whatever we want because a video game doesn't matter. But it kind of like inspires a movement of people reacting, hey, there's this guy in a blue shirt who's like saving everyone, and it's like kind of noble and stuff, and it's like on the news, and I'm like, no one would care. Like, this would be something that maybe like Reddit, about, you know, the subreddit for that video game would talk about it. That's about it. Like, it would never spread beyond that.
Or Twitch streamers, which they had.
Yeah. The Twitch, like, I didn't necessarily like those bits because it felt a bit like, look, we've got real Twitch streamers here. And I only recognize these super popular ones because, like, they show up at the Game Awards. Like, I don't watch any of these Twitch streamers. I watch plenty of Twitch. I just don't watch any of these people. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't watch Twitch, but...
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
But I'm not that into video game culture anyway. I mean, I play video games, but, like, I'm not that into that kind of thing.
And I get that there's a defense for the references, even though I don't like them. And I know what the defense is. The defense says, well, it's kind of like Fortnite, how they've got like all this licensed stuff in there, and that's kind of what it's like sort of parodying is.
Yeah, I've not played Fortnite, but the actual video game seems very much like Fortnite.
Yeah. It's like Fortnite meets Grand Theft Auto, I'd say, because the city feels more Grand Theft Auto-esque in the way it looks and sort of the things you can do.
You brought up Truman Show, but I think this, or Ready Player One, but this actually gives me a lot of the Lego movie vibes.
Oh, yeah, I can see that comparison, yeah. I mean, I did think there was a lot of Truman Show for sure, especially the further it went, I was getting more Truman Show vibes. There's even like a scene where he's out on the beach and there's like a barrier, and I'm like, oh, this is making me think of Truman, look out into the ocean kind of thing. Oh, Tara's cat's doing kamikaze moves.
There's another cat trying to get into this room where my cat is currently.
Okay.
You can guess.
So, yeah, I think, like, so I get what it's doing. I get that it's parodying Fortnite, but Fortnite is this juggernaut that has all these licensed things in that people can spend money on, and it makes jokes out of, like, you know, health pickups and like DLC and paying money for skins and stuff like that. But I don't know, like it feels kind of like I don't know if it's got much of a point beyond just referencing them, where I'm not sure if it's like really saying anything about it. And even if it was, like, do I want to watch a movie that's about all the things in video games that I kind of hate? Like, I don't know if I want a movie about those. Like, I get what it's doing with the character and how it's relating to the real people in the real world that it's telling its story about, and the bones of that story's there. Like, I get what it's doing, it's functional, and it works well enough. But I was never really into the tone of the movie or the humor. You know, like some nerdy guy in his like bedroom yelling at his mum not to touch his special sock. Like,
yeah, this is super cringe.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm sure like the audience of this movie is more for Fortnite players, you know, like people from
like 13-year-olds. Yeah, sure.
well, yeah, like 13 through like, I don't know, 20 something like that.
I don't know, kids love Fortnite, that's what I know. I know there's obviously older people who play it, but I know Fortnite's a big hit with the kids. They do the dances from it and shit like that.
Yeah. And like I said, the humor in this for me is like 50-50, but I do like I like the vibe of the movie. Like maybe it's just the Mariah Carey song, but like yeah, the movie's got a good vibe. And like, I don't normally like Ryan Reynolds, but like I like his character in this because he kind of reminds me of Emmett from the Lego movie, who I also don't really like Chris Pratt, but like I like Emmett, you know, because he has that optimism. And
what you're saying
it's a fun film.
I think what you're saying is that Chris Pratt and Ryan Reynolds are perfect for generic white guy NPC.
Yes.
That's what you're saying, effectively.
Like, they used to have a thing that made them special, but now they're just generic, yes.
Yes, he's a generic dude. Yeah, actually, you brought up the music there. That's actually one of the other things that bothered me a little bit, was it felt like a lot of, like, just kind of, like, really obvious. Like, there's Wrecking Ball plays at one point. There's a song that I know...
Yeah, it's used for a comedic beat, though, and it barely plays.
But there's a song that plays that I know from, like, an episode of Lost, which it's got a big moment. And it's that weird thing where... I don't know, it feels like this, like, it just feels like this concoction of, like, media that's just all been put together. And the story is at the center of it's functional. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie just because I think it does function. It's not offensive by and large. But it's got a lot of things that just feel quite hollow to me, and I just kind of, by the end, was like, that was like a CGI vomit, like, blockbustery type movie with lots of references to things. I don't know, I just didn't feel anything for it.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and defend or stand here because I have a standing desk. I'm not going to stand here and like die on the hill for this movie or anything, but like, I don't know, there's still room in my life for the occasional blockbuster CGI vomit. I mean, I still go see the Marvel movies every time they come out. And, you know, I can enjoy them, and that's, I don't know, if I have a good time and there's like characters I enjoy watching and it's not like offensive or anything, then it's not, I don't know, maybe, you know, because my expectations were so low when I went and saw the movie. I was actually worried that when I watched it today, that not having that it was going to, you know, that illusion would be shattered, and then I was actually watching a bad movie. But, you know, all the things that I liked, I still liked, and all the things I disliked, like Taika, I still disliked. And the sock joke, was a pretty bad joke. But, yeah, it's still, like, I still have room in my life for a cheese ball blockbuster that's just eye candy, you know? Like, literal, just colors on the screen.
Yeah, I just...
fun music.
Like, I'm all for blockbusters, I just wish they were more varied. I feel like there's too many similarities between them.
I definitely don't feel the like fatigue of video game movies. I guess because I don't play enough of them to where I'm like, this is not it's not a thing that I'm annoyed by. Like, sure, the Twitch streamer stuff, like, I can't really, like, I understand why it's there, and it's there for the kids who like really are into that stuff. And I'm like, okay, like, it's kind of dating the movie and where it is, and it won't age very well because of it. But, you know, even my MMO video game experience is World of Warcraft. And when I say that, I mean like vanilla World of Warcraft for like 2 years, and that was it. And I still felt a lot of that while watching the movie. I was like, okay, like, these references kind of remind me of when I played an MMO back in the day, and it's still kind of fun.
I think that's my problem, though, is that a lot of the references are just kind of cheap pops. It's like, I feel like we're supposed to be like excited and impressed that they're referencing like specific little details from video games that people who play video games will all recognize. but I don't necessarily know if it like adds to the story or makes much of a point. You know, like I think that's why these types of movies so far haven't worked for me whenever they do them. And you know, I'm sure at some point there will be a great movie about like a video game. You know, and I don't mean a movie based on a game. I mean like a movie that's set inside a game or is about making a game. And maybe there is one that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. But when I think of this in like Ready Player One, or I think of you know, even Wreck-It Ralph, which is a nice enough movie. But it didn't live up to my expectations when it was coming out, because I had all these, oh, this sounds like a great idea, like this character who like breaks out of his video game and starts like hopping around others, but it is kind of like a reference fest.
We are not bad guys.
Yeah, so I don't think any of them nailed it for me, and I think it is just too much about. Now, it's not even like necessarily direct references. It's just, you know, referencing this type of things you see in video games.
Yeah,
like that sort of like overload of just like, you know, text on the screen and him like noticing things. You know, I didn't really get much enjoyment out of it. I'm just kind of like, you know, I think there's a story to be told here about a character who realizes that he's not in control of his own world, and maybe that is a little too Truman Show, but. And obviously the other thing you could maybe compare it to slightly, and it's not fair because the quality difference is like astronomical, but you know, like it's hard not to think a little bit of the Matrix when you have a character, you know, realizing that the world that he's in is not real, you know?
Well, even They Live, I mean, with the sunglasses and all that.
Oh, for sure. And you know, They Live, Matrix, Truman Show, all much better. all great movies to varying degrees. So, and that's just fluff. It's a fluffy movie.
It's fluff.
I'll never remember most of it after, you know, tonight. Pretty much. I'll be impressed if I remember much.
It's probably way better than the Adam Project or whatever the other vote option was.
That's possibly true. I don't know. I really don't know. But I mean, yeah. So that's the general feelings I think we have on it. Just to go through some of the other details before we get into the spoilers. Some of the casts. Obviously, we have Ryan Reynolds as Guy, the NPC. We have Jodie Comer. Is it Comer? It's Comer. Yeah, that makes more sense. That's why I hesitate. Who I don't really know from anything, but she's in
The Last Duel.
No, is she?
And she's Rey's mother in the Rise of Skywalker.
It took me a second to realize what you meant there. You said The Last Duel, and I thought you meant the last movie called Duel, not the movie called The Last Duel.
Yeah, the Ridley Scott one.
Yeah, okay. You haven't watched that yet, but she's in here as kind of like, she's like one of the developers who feels that she's been ripped off by Taika Waititi, who's like the bigwig corporate douchebag who's maybe stolen her code. And her partner, when they were making the game, was played by Joe Keery from Stranger Things, and he's like working for this guy, but you know, obviously he worked with her previously, and so that pair and like is kind of like our real world heroes that are going to like sort of blossom throughout the movie. And then there's other characters though, like Guy's friend in the game's a security guard at the bank he works at, and the running gag being that there's literally like 50 bank robberies a day, because that's just one of the missions that the players can do, is they can do a robbery at this bank. So they just have casual conversations when they're like being held at gunpoint, because they're just so used to it. It doesn't matter. It's, you know, it's all whatever. Channing Tatum's got a small role that pops up a couple times.
Yeah, I didn't remember that he was in it, and like it opens up with him. I'm like, God, that guy looks like Channing Tatum. I'm like, it's probably just a generic guy who looks like generic Channing Tatum.
No, it is. It is Channing Tatum.
It is him, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because Joe Keery from Stranger Things is in it, but the kid in his bedroom with the sock, he's also an actor who has a small part in Stranger Things. So.
And the Deadpool poster.
I know, yeah, the Deadpool poster, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I'm sure it was in Ryan Reynolds' contract.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm surprised there wasn't.
A Deadpool reference.
I'm surprised there wasn't a Deadpool poster, a Green Lantern poster, and what else has he been in?
Waiting.
Van Wilder 2. Yeah, Waiting. No, Van Wilder 1 he was in. Van Wilder 2 was not him. That shows you my opinion of Ryan Reynolds, is I thought he was in the shitty sequel. Not that I think the first movie's any good, but I thought there was the movie and then he was in like, the direct-to-video sequel. He wasn't the star of the real movie. but he was.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely was. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was him and auteur thespian Tara Reid was in that movie.
I've actually never seen it. For some reason, it didn't appeal to me.
I'm pretty sure I thought it was stupid and dumb when I was a teenager, so I don't think it's probably going to hold up that well with adult eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh well. Barring that, I didn't really. I mean, I noticed the songs they put in. I didn't really notice the score all that much or anything like that.
No, I can't really think of it either. I'm sure it was very actiony. I mean, the music choices were fun and poppy, so maybe there was some of that too.
That debate fun a little bit, but yeah, okay.
Wait, not a fan of classic Mariah?
I have no problems. It's just, I don't know. Like I say, it felt like an AI generated the movie that included the soundtrack. It was just kind of like, here's a bunch of popular things all thrown together into a mush. Here's some popular media soup. Enjoy your dinner. Consume more content. Buy more products. I felt like a character in the Live. I was like, but buy more products. Consume things.
What was it advertising? I guess Fortnite.
Just things. Just here's. Yes, enjoy more Star Wars. Enjoy more Marvel things. I don't know. That's just. I don't know. That's how I felt. I don't know. I wasn't into. That's just spoilers. All right. Let's look at spoilers for Free Guy. So yeah, the gist of the premise and the plot is that we introduce a guy. We start off just in his world where all these crazy things are happening around him, but he doesn't really address it. He just kind of goes about his day. He always gets the same coffee. He always says hello to the same people. He goes into the same job, and that's all that. But you kind of realize around here, because they talk about the people with the sunglasses, and I think it's not too long before you realize what that actually means. It's like, oh, that's the players. The reason why the ones with the sunglasses are so cool and have hot babes and are skydiving into cars and doing whatever they want is because they're the players in this video game. And he's just an NPC. So you get that idea, and it all kind of changes when he sees Millie, who's our female lead, who he thinks is cool, and he's attracted to her. And this kind of snaps him into a bit more self-awareness, and he ends up stealing some glasses from a player the next day and starts to see all of the in-game world items that he couldn't see before, and that starts him on this journey of leveling up, getting better, pursuing Millie, and realizing the world that he's in. Although it is quite a while before he realizes that, or he's told that it's fake. He doesn't necessarily understand that part until quite a bit later on.
Yeah, he just has this moment where he realizes that because he has the glasses now and he wants something more, that he can be like the heroes. Maybe he can be a hero in this world, not thinking that this is the only world.
Yeah.
He's trying to, move up a class.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I guess you could argue there's some class commentary in here. I think it's kind of thin. In the same way that it kind of brings up like gun violence at one point, and just as a sort of throwaway joke.
It was kind of funny though.
No, I mean the line, like because he's trying to convince all the other NPCs. Look, there's a real world out there, and he's got Millie standing. He's like, "Hey, Millie, in the real world, how many bank robberies are there per hour?"
Hardly any.
Basically none. Yeah, basically none. Like, once in a while it may happen, but basically none. And how many, like tanks fall out the sky? He lists a few things, and he says, "And yeah, in the real world, I bet there's not that much gun violence either." And she just sort of goes, "Actually, no, that's kind of a problem. That's not very good."
But the rest of the stuff, it's not there.
Yeah. So it's like it was almost like too much of a real dark point to make in the movie that's otherwise so light. I was like, oh, whoa, I was not expecting the biting social commentary there for a minute. And he kind of influences like other NPCs, like like he asks for something that's not just a medium coffee with 2 sugars one morning. He asks for a cappuccino, and it freaks everyone out. But then, in fact, it even makes a tank point at him as if it's going to like assassinate him for questioning the code. But that never comes up later that he's changing things. It's not like everything's trying to kill him later. It's almost just like a one scene joke. But we find out later that barista has, through trial and error, learn to make cappuccinos because he inspired her. He takes one of the hot babes that's with a player and is like, you need to be with this guy. And she's like, yeah, you're right. I'd love to be with anyone. You're right. And we find out later from Joe Carey's character that she's written like a blog post or something about the patriarchy, and like is like writing. So it's this idea that his influence is spreading throughout the world. And there's a little bit of backstory that builds up to this because like the characters who designed the code talk about how they wanted the characters to grow and evolve, and that's kind of because it's their original code within this MMO that was kind of created on top of theirs. That's why has grown. It's why he's become smarter, and it goes into all that stuff. So, but honestly, the movie's really about them, like the two real characters. I would argue. Like, if anything, one of my complaints about the ending is that it has them like sort of like kiss for the first time. She finally realizes that Joe Carey's in love with her, and she goes and kisses him, and it's like this big moment in the street, and it cuts to black, and I thought the credits were going to start rolling, and it gave us like another scene of Ryan Reynolds like talking to his best friend again.
Yeah.
And I was like, that scene wasn't needed. Like, the movie ended. Like, we're done.
Yeah, especially once you realize that the movie's really about them, and and their story, and their them finding each other at the end, which I actually do think is sweet. Like, I like the way that was, because the whole movie you're like, oh, Ryan Reynolds is in love with this girl who's like really too young for him, and also like can't really be with her because she's.
Or is he too young for her?
She's robbing the cradle.
He's technically 4, as Joe Carey points out.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. But I do think that story's a little bit sweet. Like there's a reason why he's obsessed with her specifically, and like, and how that comes about, and the realization.
What was the
reason?
When
I watched the movie, I'm like, oh, these two are really cute, and like, there's no way that they're not like attracted to each other, right?
Oh yeah. Oh god, then what is the reason? Why does Ryan Reynolds have all the same tastes and things that she does?
Because the other programmer who's in love with her has specifically programmed Ryan Reynolds to have this to be realistic. So he gave him all of his feelings for a real person, and put them in this character.
Well, it was all her likes and dislikes though, right? Because he liked like the same ice cream as her. He likes the same like music. Yeah, it was all the stuff that came up as well.
And even the coffee order is her coffee order. And so like
basic bland.
Yeah, so like when she goes to see Guy at the end, she's like, I just need to see him again because I think I'm maybe like have feelings for Guy. And then he realizes like, no, the reason you have feelings for me is because somebody else is programmed me. So you have to find the programmer because I'm just a love letter, basically.
Like that made sense to me. Like the idea that he liked her, and that's why Ryan Reynolds' character had all these like tastes and things, and why he was so infatuated with her when he showed up, because like it's literally like his dream girl. It's been implanted onto him, so that's why it means something to him. That all made sense to me. The one part of this, and it's just a really silly thing, but it was really stupid to me. So, like 2/3 or so into the movie, Joe Carey records like a video for her to explain like he's trying to explain to her, hey, this like Ryan Reynolds' code has become self-aware and he's really smart now, and he's like done a video with like the data and stuff, and like he's explaining that, hey, he's self-aware and he's got all these tastes because I kind of based them on you, and that's all you see of it at that point in the movie, and that's fine. But then at the end of the movie, when this third guy that works with one of them is like sort of with them now, he says, you realize like he's like into you, right? And like or he says something to the guy. She ends up, after Ryan Reynolds says to her, hey, like I'm just a love letter, like it's not me that's really in love with you, it's someone else, not knowing who he's talking about. She watches, like, she just basically goes back to that video and plays the rest of it. So I thought it was a little bit silly that the rest of that video was always there and she just never finished it the first time.
It was definitely unneeded because, like, we got it, like the fact that Ryan Reynolds' character or guy is programmed with all of these things specific to her. It's like, and then when he says the line, I'm a love letter, I'm like, oh, like we all get it, like.
But I thought, but my problem with it is it's not even just that she didn't finish the video. The video literally has him say, "He fell for you because I'm in love with you." Like he literally says
exactly.
that.
We didn't need the extra help, and I don't know why she would either.
Yeah, and it just felt silly that she had never finished the video. Why didn't you finish it when he was explaining all this the first time? It felt like all this information was really important at the time. I mean, maybe it's not important really to the overall context, but you thought everything he was saying was important, so why wouldn't you finish it? I don't know, it felt a little contrived.
Well, they were on a time crunch.
It just felt really contrived to me. But yeah, I mean, their whole thing though is that they built this game that wasn't supposed to be this violent game, that was about the characters learning and evolving, and Taika Waititi stole it. And
it was more of like a Sims game or like a fantasy life game or something.
Yeah, something like that. And a big part, and this is why I think the third act is just kind of a mush of like CGI effects. Is like the world's changing and crumbling, like the roads are coming up and like making a ramp and stuff like that. And it's all about Ryan Reynolds trying to get to the original code. And that's one of the things as well. It feels a little bit just kind of movie like bullshit. Is this idea that everything, all this original code and all this other stuff exists in the game as like a place you can go to, and like that'll prove that it's there. Like some of it kind of makes sense when you think about, because real video games do sometimes have like hidden levels that were like half designed and unfinished, and they're just still in there for some reason. Like you can find them if you glitch through a wall. Like so there is a little bit of truth to that, but like the idea that there's also like a piece of data. The first half of the movie is about Millie trying to get to this data that proves that the code's in here. And it's like in like the garage of like another player's like house with all of his stuff, and for some reason this other streamer has this footage from inside the game that proves and shows that there's like the original code there. Like there's just like it's basically just MacGuffins. It's like this is the MacGuffin of what will solve the plot, so we have to put it in there. But it just feels like kind of magic rather than real game development.
I think it makes sense, like you said before, that the proof would be inside the game, but the fact that it's an actual physical thing that the character has to find and grab and carry and take to another place, and that's all just movie stuff.
Yeah, and even just the idea as well that like she's trying to find it by playing the game rather than just like looking through the code or looking through the data. Like she's actually I'm going to have a character who's leveled up, and I have to be leveled up and have all the best guns in the game to solve this problem. And I'm like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like I don't know. So some of the premise is a little bit weird. If you just know how games work in any like way, like as much as it's like doing all these references to how games work, there's a lot of things that don't line up with how games work, and that's just one of those things. Yeah, I don't know really how much like insight I have to offer on this movie. It's so light and fluffy, and I just don't really have, but like obviously there's other set pieces we could talk about. Like when he first starts acting like he's not supposed to, the developer played by Joe Keery and like another developer go into the world as cops because they think it's a player who's like hacked the game or something that's doing things they're not supposed to, and they actually go in as cops to take him down. Which again, like I get why this sounds like a fun idea, but it's also like, yeah, this is not how you deal with hackers. You don't go into the game as a character and chase them.
No, I mean, but in Warcraft, like, you'll get notification. You would get notified through like text by somebody who was a developer,
Sure.
or somebody who was part of the game. I'm not quite sure what they're called. Maybe they're just called devs. I'm not sure, but you would get contacted by text.
So, support staff, maybe, I don't know. But that doesn't make for an exciting chase sequence where we're jumping up, buildings with our super jumper boots or shoes that he has on.
No, that's true. I mean, it's like where the Matrix part comes in too, right? Where they're trying to show everything that guy could do, and he doesn't know how to do it yet. So.
Yeah, and it's also they're even doing some Inception stuff where like the dev starts like using like God mode to like change the world around them, and it's like everything's shifting. It really just feels like everything's too much. It's just there's not enough like sort of to like ground yourself in and sort of like understand the weight of the scene, because anything can just move around and change and flip. I find that there's not a lot of like real like weight or suspense to the action sequences. It's just kind of, well, anything can just happen. It's all just happening, so just go with it. I always just kind of feel like I'm along for a ride that I'm not really feeling much momentum in, I guess. Whenever I get to stuff like that, like I think in the Matrix, part of the reason why it works is that one, it doesn't do anything too wild with the world, but is that the story stakes are so goddamn high, and it feels like it is really hard to to win inside the virtual world, that it feels like there's stakes. Yeah, it feels like there's something like to fight for and that the characters can lose. In this, because it's naturally a lot lighter, it doesn't really quite have that, you know?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, the stakes are that there is a ticking time bomb in essence, right? The world's going to disappear and all the characters will disappear. Mm-hmm. And there is an actual clock that you're watching.
Well, it has like a sort of, it's got a multi-stage thing where he tries to reboot everything so that'll reset him. And it kind of does for a bit where the guy doesn't remember anything. And then Millie wakes him up by smooching him. And we get this ridiculous over-the-top slow-motion kiss where the camera like goes around him and you see like his memories like coming out of the code or whatever it is. Again, just this like vomit on the screen. It's just like everything, all the colors, everything. Just, you know, play the song, play the pop song.
Yeah, I mean, it worked for Wally and Eve. Eva.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think everything in this movie, like each thing on its own, has worked in another movie better because it's built up to those moments and because it feels more like payoff. Here, he's like forgotten who he was for like, I don't know, 10 minutes of movie time, and we've already solved that problem. You know, because we have to have the big action scene where he fights a muscly version of himself that Taika Waititi's created, like the corporate, like, no, we can do a better version of Blue Shirt Guy. We can do the one that's like Arnold's body with Ryan Reynolds' head on top. He'll fight him for us, which is where we get our Star Wars and Marvel references, because he uses Captain America's shield, then he uses a lightsaber, and it cuts to the reactions of all the audience watching where they go, "Oh my god, is that a lightsaber?" I hate that scene. I hate it.
Well, people weren't upset about Star Wars yet. Well, except for the ones that hated The Last Jedi.
What do you mean, yes? This came out in like 2021. There's not been a Star Wars movie since this came out.
Well, okay, I guess I don't remember when The Rise of Skywalker came out.
That was it in 2019.
It feels like yesterday.
Oh dear. I don't know. It felt like Disney like self-advertising. Look at how cool our other properties are. Go.
Well, they know people love them, so
go spend more money.
I mean, it's also a Fortnite thing, right? Where you can just use anything, any character. Well,
that's what I said. That's what I hate about this. Is I know that's the critique. That's like the counter argument to me is that but this is what Fortnite is. Yeah, I know. And Fortnite just looks like a mess of like different properties thrown together into a game. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I don't play it.
Nor do I. I mean, I don't play multiplayer games.
I do like that the beefy Ryan Reynolds was not quite finished, so his dialogue, it was just like, is a sentence with the actual word adjective or catchphrase.
Yeah, he just yells catchphrase at him, and then it cuts to Taika where he's like, I haven't written the catchphrase yet, so it just says catchphrase in his dialogue.
He's like reading the stuff that's in parentheses, to be added later.
Yeah, which is a funny gag, I suppose. Like there's little ideas that are fine on their own. I think it feels like a movie that needed a few more drafts where they kind of like honed in on what they really wanted to focus on and like tell the story about. Because I could see there been a great story where it's this like AI creation that sort of learns enough about humanity to save the real characters or show them that they love each other. I think that could work. I could see a story about AI becoming self-aware enough, and it's kind of cruel to have him in a world where he's just there to be shot whatever a player wants to. I could see that being an interesting story.
You want to go Westworld, the TV show, on this?
Yeah, it could be that. Like, I mean, I guess I'm saying is that I can see like 5 or 6 different types of science fiction that I really like that this could turn into, but it's not doing any of them because it just wants to be the light, like kind of funny blockbuster.
Yeah, this is for, a specific range of people.
Idiots.
Age range.
Yes, idiots. Idiot children.
I guess. I don't know. I enjoyed it, but I am kind of an idiot.
Don't make me feel bad. I'm just trying to crack a joke about children because they're awful. Don't make me feel bad.
I mean, this movie is a lot of colors and a lot of noise and a lot of style, a certain specific style, right?
Do you have ADHD? This is the movie for you.
But that is Fortnite. Everything I know about Fortnite looks like this movie.
That absolutely is. So I guess it's not a surprise that this movie just did not appeal to me at all throughout. It felt like throw everything at the screen and hopefully distract the audience enough that they'll be happy by the end. I don't know, it felt a bit hollow to me. And it's a shame, because I really like Ryan Reynolds, but I like Joe Keery. Like, he's great in Stranger Things. Taika Waititi.
He's young. He'll have a career still.
Oh yeah, he'll do other stuff. Yeah, he'll do things. He'll play the younger brother to the guy from John Ralphio, who plays Sonic. He'll do his younger brother in a movie at some point, because they look a lot alike.
Oh, do they?
Oh yeah, there've been jokes about how people think they look
Ben
brothers
Schwartz?
and stuff. Yeah. Joe Keery's like his younger, more attractive brother. That's what they look like.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I don't. Like, I'm failing you guys. I don't know what else I've got left to say. We're barely past the 40-minute mark of this review, and I have nothing to offer you. I have no scenes that I want to talk about. I have no analysis. Like, all of the action scenes just kind of blur together in my head, because it's all just like over the top. Like, we have powers and we can do anything. So
I did enjoy when they first showed up as cops, because I thought they did a good job acting like cops.
Well,
or at least Joe Keery did.
yeah, I was gonna say the one in the bunny rabbit suit. I don't know if he.
No, but it was kind of funny, because that is also like just a random skin you can get for a video game to show up.
Yeah, I wonder if I'd like it more if just the jokes were better. Like, see if it was just consistently really funny. I don't think I'd care about it not doing all the other things I want.
Right from the start, too, like when Ryan Reynolds has a sip of coffee and he's like, it's like losing my virginity in my mouth or something. I'm like, that's, I don't know.
Yeah, it's really forced.
Seems like a strange joke to make.
Do you know what that line feels like? That feels like someone's trying to do a Tobias Splith line, but just doesn't get why they're funny. It sounds really forced.
Well, also, you want to make this like a really innocent character, and he's talking about sex and a joke, and it like right from the beginning, it's, I don't know, like it seems like it doesn't fit. Like
I say, it feels a little try hard in places. Like,
it feels like Ryan Reynolds, honestly. Like, we want the edgy humor, but he still has to play this guy. So do your Ryan Reynolds thing, but also play.
No, I think you're right. I think that clashes with like what a lot of the movie is. And that's actually one of the things that felt a little bit weird to me with so the romance thing, where he's really into Millie, and she eventually is kind of talking to him a bit more, and she doesn't realize he's not a real person. She thinks it's just another player playing the character. And eventually he says, after he gets her some bubblegum ice cream, which, she loves, obviously, because of the reasons we've mentioned, that he has all the same taste as her. And he is like, I really want to kiss you right now. And she's like, wait, what? You really want to kiss me right now? And she's like, well, if you know how to do that, go for it. And, like, it is funny a couple of times when it cuts to, like, the real her in the chair watching, like, the kiss. Like,
she looks so embarrassed, too, but she's, like, into it.
It does look funny, but, like, she's kind of... It did make me go, like... Yeah, like, was this actually... Did she think she was... Because after the kiss, she says, hey, maybe we can even meet in real life at some point. And I'm like, is the movie trying to tell me that, like, she's actually falling for another player in the game, and that she's already at the point where she's thinking, hey, maybe we could actually be a thing in real life? That felt really rushed to me. I'm like... I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, but, like, he could be an axe murderer, okay? You barely know this dude. Like, he's... If this is a person... We know it's not, but if this is a person playing this character... He's like really like into the role. He's cosplaying and doing the method acting really well.
Have you played MMOs?
Not really. I mean, I've tried like one or two, like briefly.
Oh, okay.
But I never.
So you never had like a crush on someone that you played with? You didn't really know?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I totally have. I guess it's more relatable to me.
Okay, well, I did not feel that. I will admit, I did laugh a little bit when she's telling Joe Keery this, and this is the same scene where he points out that he's technically only 4 years old, and that's kind of creepy. But he's like, wait, he kissed you in the game? But there's not even a button for that. And she just looks at him and goes, oh, he found the button. And I thought, okay. And this was the point where I'm like, okay, he's clearly into her. That probably stung. That probably hurt. That was like a dagger to this boy's heart. The poor boy is like, no, I love you, and you're falling for my AI creation. Oh.
Cute. Yeah, I like the two of them. I thought, I mean, the fact that they're both beautiful and geniuses at the same time is a little bit like, it's a movie thing, of course, but yeah, I thought their story was kind of sweet. I enjoyed how it ended, and it ends like and actually kind of a nice shot where they like go to kiss in the street and it cuts right away, and I think that would have been the perfect point for credits to kick in, especially because it seems like we're getting the sequel.
Do you know what it felt like? It felt like that really was the end of the movie, but like Ryan Reynolds, the star Ryan Reynolds said, "No, but this is still my movie. I need to be in the last scene." Because it felt like I don't think
it would have been really tasteful if it ended that way.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was really about them the whole time, but I don't think in any way, shape, or form either Ryan Reynolds himself or the producers behind the movie. No, Ryan Reynolds is a star. It has to be about him, so he has to be in the last scene.
Yeah, when he does like the love letter line, that should have been like, "Oh, this movie's not about him," even though we thought it was, and then it cuts to the real world and we see what happens there. That would have been kind of sweet.
I guess what I really want from this movie, and it was never going to be this, but like when we're clinging to that one idea, I'm thinking like, yeah, I want like Truman Show meets her. But the whole point is that her falling in love with the AI character is really just teaching her, no, I actually, like, I've got a connection with this real person. And he just couldn't never say it to me because he's too much of a nervous. And I think that's the other problem, is that we don't get enough of Joe Keery's character to really kind of like, feel the sympathy for him that maybe he is too nervous to ever, like, he seems confident enough when he's around her. He doesn't feel like some guy who can't talk about things, but
well, she's a business partner, maybe that's harder.
Well, maybe, I guess, I don't know. Like, I feel like, yeah, we could have maybe fleshed them out a little bit more so I could really care about like how this was a romance that should have been but never happened yet, and there's some legit feelings there. And
I guess I do like that it's sort of a surprise. Like, maybe we shouldn't be surprised, but there is like a turn that happens where you're like, oh, this is like, he's been in love with her the whole time, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I guess I kind of assumed they were a couple, like, and they broke up. See, when they first showed them being interviewed about their game from IGN, which again, IGN, like, you actually see the IGN logo in the corner. I actually assumed that they were a couple when they made this and then broke up. So if anything, I was more surprised when it started to feel like, oh wait, they were never a thing. That this is something that never happened. I assumed they were a couple, and then as the movie played out, I was like, oh, okay, they never were. Okay.
I don't know if I had that same feeling. I don't remember what it felt when I watched it the first time.
Oh, sure. I think I was just expecting it to be about them reconciling and getting back together rather than, oh no, he never admitted that he cared for her. So this is like, oh no, I wasn't falling for Ryan Reynolds. I was falling for Steve from Stranger Things this whole time. Like an entire generation of people have, might we add. People love Steve.
I don't watch that show, so I don't
People love Steve. They think he's a sweetheart. He's
got great hair.
He starts off as a dickhead in season 1, but then he really has some growth, and he becomes like the best babysitter ever as the seasons goes on.
Very good.
He's great. Steve and Dustin for life. But yeah. See, now I just want to talk about Stranger Things because it's more interested in this movie.
Well, you've got the wrong audience because I've never seen it. I mean, that's not true. I have seen the first season, but when it came out, and I just thought it was okay.
Baffling.
It's not for me.
Baffling. Dear. Yeah. And that's an interesting comparison to be made, actually, because Stranger Things obviously does reference a lot of things because it's set in the 80s and it's kind of about being in that window of pop culture.
It came out before people realized that they don't want that anymore.
No, I think that's being reductive. I don't agree with that. I think it does it differently. It genuinely does, because it's not just about popping things up for a quick reference and then moving on. Like the whole point of Stranger Things is that a lot of the plot in the seasons actually is kind of like all imagining different types of movies from that time period. You especially see a lot of aliens in season 2. Season 3 has a lot of like more giant monster stuff, and there's a little bit of Terminator in there. Season 4 has a lot more Nightmare on Elm Street kind of coming in. Like the whole point of it is that it's kind of a homage to the way stories were told then, and then the references feel kind of natural to things when they come up. Is it a little overly referencey? Yeah, maybe. But in this, it's like a machine gun. It's just like firing references at you like over and over again.
Yeah. At least it's mostly modern day stuff, though. Which makes sense if it's like Fortnite.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah. I compare them because I'm not saying that just because something references something else is instantly at fault. Like, I think there is a way for it to feel natural and do it. And I don't think that this makes me think more Ready Player One, where I'm just kind of like, here, remember this thing? Remember that? Isn't it cool we brought up this because you know this thing?
Did you like the commentary about how Taika wants to make a Free City 2 because the only thing that matters is IP and sequels and nothing original?
I mean, obviously I agree with what the movie's kind of saying there, but I don't necessarily think this movie feels like it's like this. This doesn't feel like some like passion art house project that was made outside the studio system. This feels like it's a product of the same world that it's critiquing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least the game that whatever the original game is that they go to doesn't look like it has any reference to anything.
True. Yeah.
Which is what the world really wants to play. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, well, if I'm playing a game, I want the game to be its own thing and like make me care about it through its storytelling and through its gameplay and stuff like that. I don't want to play a game and just be like, oh, it's cool because you can get a T-shirt with a Mickey Mouse on it or something, Like, if any movie we watched at a time recently was going to bring out the jaded, cynical, like I'm sick of the current system attitude in me, it was going to be this movie.
All right. What are you gonna rate it?
Are we done? I guess. Okay, yeah.
I think so.
I don't
want to go into any more cynical talk.
Yeah, I don't really want to either. And honestly, like, I think it's a bit of a condemnation of the movie that there's very little in it that I feel like I want to talk about. Not even for like bad reasons either. Like, at least when you watch a bad movie and there's like somebody is like, okay, like how did it mess up this and how did it mess? This is just really bland. Like, ultimately, I feel it's really hollow and bland, and all of the action scenes just kind of blur together for me. And it's 2 hours long. I did feel that I was kind of, not that I think I think that the story this has deserves 2 hours. I don't think it's like too long in that sense, but I just like, because of the way the pacing and the action works, I felt just like, oh, I'm like, come on, can we move on? Can we finish, please? So
there were definitely scenes that I was ready for them to be over. And most of the time it was like had to do around trying to find the thing in the place
MacGuffin
and whatever.
Yeah. We have to get the MacGuffin, or we have to get to the MacGuffin place, or we have to do this or that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it feels like just a series of fetch quests and mechanics, which I guess is what a lot of video games feel like, so maybe that translates, but I don't find them fun in either format, so yeah.
Yep.
Well, I was kind of building up to my rating there, and then I realized I don't go first, you go first, so.
Yeah, but you said how you felt about the movie first, so maybe you should do your rating first.
Okay, it's a 5 out of
10. I'll give it a 6.5.
That's fair.
I think it's expensive and cheap at the same time, and there's still room in my life for that. So
there's some poetry to that. No matter how much money they spent on it, it still feels really cheap. There's some poetry. Yeah, I just wish that it did something to make me care about what was going on more. And it's not that the concepts I don't like. Like, I referenced maybe like 10 movies over the course of this review of things that it reminded me of, like Her, Truman Show, Matrix. Like, a lots of movies, They Live you brought up, like all these great movies that, all these like parts of this kind of remind you of, and they're all better than this.
Yeah, I'd say, start with the Lego movie and then watch Free Guy.
Yeah, I'm not that hot in the Lego movie either, to be honest, so maybe there's just, I don't know. Although I think that was probably
really impressive.
That's better than this from what I remember, but I kind of remember feeling like I forgot a lot of that movie quite quickly as well, so maybe I'll revisit it at some point, but hey. Yep. Alright, well, okay. One of our shorter episodes in a while.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Didn't feel short. We're at an hour. What are you talking about?
Most of our episodes are like 90 minutes.
Cut out because my dog was throwing up in the back.
Yeah, so it might actually be slightly under an hour by the time I edit the interruptions out. But anyway, yeah, that's That's Free Guy. It exists. So I go back to what I said at the start. I legitimately went into this thinking it was a Netflix movie. It felt like a Netflix movie. So when you corrected me, I was like, wait, what? You can't be right. It was a Netflix movie. It felt like a Netflix movie. It was a Netflix movie to its core. What are you talking about?
No, Netflix is a different category of movies for me.
It felt Netflixy to me. I don't know. Maybe it's slightly bigger budget, but it felt Netflixy. Anywho,
you can do better, Taika.
I don't want to talk about this movie anymore. I want to forget this movie ever existed. Do we have to do the second one when it comes out?
Probably.
Oh.
If you're gonna make me watch the new Transformers when it comes out, then yeah, I will make you watch the new Free Guy.
I had more fun talking about Transformers than this movie, though. I mean, Transformers is...
Yeah, but I'm not gonna have fun for the next Transformers.
Oh, watching it, sure, but I think the conversation will be more fun than the conversation for this was.
I'm not looking forward to that.
There's stuff to get mad about. There's going to be stuff to like rip apart and like yell and like feel passionate about. Not for the right reasons, but you'll feel passion. I felt no passion in this.
All right. Are we doing something next time?
Well, we don't know yet because we've not picked what our first 80s movie for 80s season is yet.
But we're doing an 80s season.
We're doing an 80s season. Yeah, so there'll be 80s movies. And in no way was picking an 80s season the way to stall doing the Transformers sequels for a little bit. That was not the intention at all.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. We have like a small window of getting this Transformers movies
It does
done.
mean we have to do 2 through 5 in a shorter time span after 80 seasons done. So, you know. There is like a flip side to this delay, but yeah. So there's going to be a couple of exceptions because I think 65 comes out during the 80 season period, and obviously we'll be doing Alien Resurrection for Alien Day. But other than those 2 episodes, it'll be all 80s movies for the next couple of months. So look forward to all that, and yeah, well, you'll see what the first one is next week. Yeah, and it wasn't an 80s vote, but the next Patreon vote winner, we actually had an 80s movie win anyway, so that fits into the season.
Very nice.
Yeah, Night of the Comet one.
Do you know? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that, so I've been looking forward to that.
Yeah, so so Free Guy was a forgettable, bland CGI vomit movie. I'll never remember anything in it. Thank you very much.
I mean, it was kind of fun. It was alright.
Like, it wasn't the worst thing ever. Like the reason why I gave it a 5 is because the basic story beats that it's trying to tell, you know, there's some merit there. There's at least some messaging that it's trying to do. Like, I kind of get what it's going for. I just don't think it ever, like, makes any of it that exciting or interesting. So, yeah. 5 out of 10. Anyway. That's the Atomic Cinema Experiment. Thank you very much to our Patreon producers for the month. I will thank Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Sharp, Now, Christopher Moy, David Brown, and Al Treisman. And thank you to all of our patrons who support us. Obviously, at the $3 tier and up, you get access to the bonus episode every month. The $5 tier and up, you get access to Ace Meltdown, which is just me and Tara talking about what movies we've been watching that month, and doing a little sci-fi quiz for each other. So if you want the bonus content, and then obviously some other goodies as well for other shows that we do on Male Fuzz Movies, head over and support us and get some content. But you can also support us for free by simply liking, subscribing, rating us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from, and just sharing us around. We're at Streams Midnight on Twitter, and of course you can just look forward to more episodes and things.
Hell yeah.
Thank you very much. We never mentioned why there was a week off. Tara was moving house. You could probably, if you're watching the video version, you can see a different background. I meant to bring that up at the start. I forgot. Oh well. Here we are.
Only the people who really love us, who wait till the end, get the behind the scenes stuff.
I mean, it's the perfect cherry on top of one of our worst ever episodes, I find. So, thank you very much.
I don't think so at all.
I think the movie was too bland to have any kind of interesting discussion, but maybe people enjoyed it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think our Transformers episode was great. I had a great discussion with you. I think we were having fun. There was mocking of the stupidity. This was This was Larry David making a noise and Curb Your Enthusiasm for 60 minutes.
Well, let's pick a good one for 80s then.
Don't test. That's just testing me. I'm going to pick the worst possible thing I can find.
But you know I'll love it. So.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone. We always appreciate it. Keep watching sci-fi and computer and salsa.